All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Will Thompson. I'm the United States Attorney for the Southern District of West Virginia. We're here today to announce an indictment that charged 27 individuals across 5 states. We've been doing a roundup today. It's my understanding we have 22 of those 27 individuals in custody. This was a drug trafficking organization responsible for distributing large quantities of methamphetamine and fentanyl in the Huntington area. So far today, we've recovered over 2 pounds of meth and 2 pounds of fentanyl. There's been 9 search warrants executed in this matter. We've recovered over 26 firearms today, taking those off the street. Individuals came from many different states. A bulk of them, a lot of them, came from Detroit, Michigan. It's my understanding there's been 9 individuals indicted from Detroit, Michigan. We also had individuals from Georgia, Kentucky, Ohio, and also West Virginia. Total of 53 counts in this indictment. And this reflects my office's continuing, first of all, to work with our law enforcement partners up here, who I'll introduce in just a moment, and also to work up the food chain to get individuals who's bringing this poison into our communities. I think we're doing this as a good example of what happens when everybody works together. I would like to introduce the people up here with me. I have FBI Assistant Special Agent in Charge Mike Shanahan. I have DEA Assistant Special Agent in Charge J.T. Scroggs. ATF Resident Agent in Charge David Bullard. Okay. Cabell County Sheriff Chuck Zirkle. He's also here with his Chief Deputy Doug Atkins, West Virginia State Police Captain Lacey Deskins, Sergeant Jason Webb of the Charleston Police Department and Commander of Indictment. Also up here, Indictment Control Board members. This is a drug task force. I've got Putnam County Sheriff Bobby Eggleston, St. Albans Police Captain Philip Bass, and Nitro Police Chief Chris Fleming. This is a case that shows what happens when you see the law enforcement organizations work together. 27 individuals indicted. 26 guns so far taken off the streets. In addition to the people I have up here, I'm going to go ahead and name all the agencies that worked on this. We had the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Cabell County Sheriff's Office, Drug Enforcement Administration, the Metropolitan Drug Enforcement Network Team known as MDENT, West Virginia State Police, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives known as ATF, U.S. Postal Inspection Service. MDENT, is important to note, is composed of the Charleston Police Department, the Kanawha County Sheriff's Office, Putnam County Sheriff's Office, Nitro Police Department, St. Albans Police Department, and the South Charleston Police Department. I want everyone to realize this is an indictment today. An indictment is merely an allegation, and defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. I'd like to thank, I've had 2 Assistant United States Attorneys, Supervisory Assistant Joe Adams and his AUSA Stephanie Taylor are prosecuting this case. This shows, like I said, what happens when a bunch of law enforcement organizations and people works together, and shows we can work on stopping this poison from infecting our community. I'd now like to introduce FBI Assistant Special Agent in Charge Mike Shanahan.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Shanahan, Assistant Special Agent in Charge of the FBI's Pittsburgh Division, and I'd like to echo what you heard from U.S. Attorney Thompson. Investigations like this one highlight the critical need for strong law enforcement partnerships and the impact we can make when we have a common goal. The goal we have is not to put people in jail for a couple days or a couple weeks, but rather to disrupt and dismantle large criminal enterprise organizations and put those responsible behind bars for a long time to keep our communities safe. This 8-month multi-state investigation required the dedication and diligence of the FBI and all the partners you see up here with me today. The 27 people charged in this indictment were bringing methamphetamine and fentanyl into this community. And as you know, with those type of drugs comes violence. Neighborhoods suffered, victims and their families suffered. While these groups and their associates represent a small portion of society, their lifestyle choices and their illicit activities led to violent behavior that slowed neighborhood revitalization and impacted our overall community growth. Huntington is an area that's long been plagued by illegal drugs and the fear of violence, and we cannot let that continue. We're talking about dangerous drugs made and distributed throughout the country and then ultimately resold to people who don't know what's really in those drugs, and that's dangerous. I want the community to know that disrupting major drug trafficking organizations is one of the essential missions of the FBI and is another example of how we hold those accountable that are bringing drugs and opioids into this region. But we also need the support of our community to do this. We at the FBI rely heavily on our community partners to be our eyes and ears. And that's because our community leaders know the problems facing their neighbors better than anyone. We also rely heavily on our law enforcement partners as they're critical to our success. So I'd like to take a minute here and again thank our partners in this investigation, including the Cabell County Sheriff's Department, the Huntington FBI Talk West Task Force, the Metropolitan Drug Enforcement Network Team, or MDENT, the DEA, the West Virginia State Police, the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, and ATF. The law enforcement agencies standing with me today are dedicated to making sure that drug dealers don't come in and make law-abiding citizens feel unsafe. No single agency can do this alone, and we're working more closely than ever with police chiefs, sheriffs, and our local, state, and federal partners. I hope the community starts to see a change from the actions taken today. And again, I encourage you and ask you to be our eyes and ears. We need your help in this fight. Thank you.
I'd now like to introduce Assistant Special Agent in Charge, J.T. Scroggs of the DEA.
Good afternoon. I'll try to be quick. As U.S. Attorney Thompson said, my name is J.T. Scroggs. I'm the Assistant Special Agent in Charge for the Drug Enforcement Administration Louisville Field Division, based out of Charleston, West Virginia. I'm especially proud of the work done here today by the men and women of DEA, as well as all of our law enforcement partners who have already been mentioned. Our law enforcement partners in this investigation, this type of investigation would not be successful had it not been for all the partnerships of the men and women that you see standing up here today. At a time when West Virginia leads the nation in drug poisonings per capita, those who trade in illegal drugs are on notice. If you sling your poison and sow your misery in our streets and the communities, we will be relentless in the pursuit of justice. Thank you.
I'd now like to introduce Cabell County Sheriff Chuck Zirkle.
I'd just like to echo what these other gentlemen have said. It's an honor for our department to be involved in this investigation as others, and it would not be possible if it wasn't for the cooperation and the long reach of the federal arm. Huntington and Cabell County has been plagued probably worse than anybody with this mess. So we just want people to know that things like this and investigations like this have long impacts. The federal system puts deeper and stricter penalties and prison time on these individuals. So thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. I'd now like to entertain any questions for me or any of the people behind me.
What message do you hope this sends drug dealers when they're wanting to do business in our area?
Easy message. Knows that the combined efforts of the law enforcement partners behind me will do everything we can to lock them up. Other questions?
Sheriff Zirkle touched on it just a second ago. Can you explain, kind of in simple terms, why when they pick these federal charges, why that's more serious than just doing the local charges?
Usually sentences. We have a wider range of sentences that are available. Usually harsher sentences are available in the federal system. And also one important aspect is when we're doing this combined partnership with our state and local partners is you get the resources of the federal government, the resources of the state government, and the resources of our local governments. So one of the primary messages is showing what happens when everyone works together.
What about for residents at home that see this? What do you hope they really take away from this today?
I hope they take away that we're still a very serious problem. We're trying to stop these poisonings from happening in our community. You're never going to stop every single drug from coming in, but the more we can do to slow it down and make our community safer and less violent. I think it should be focused that we recovered 26 firearms today from drug dealers. I think that helps. That will help our community be a safer place. Yes?
You mentioned violence. Do you have an estimate on how many lives have been claimed?
Fentanyl is a very dangerous drug. 2 milligrams of fentanyl is enough of a lethal dose, and we recovered over 2 pounds of it. You could do the math. That doesn't necessarily mean we saved that many lives, but it is very dangerous, and it's also becoming dangerous because it takes many forms. We're seeing fentanyl in many different shapes. We're seeing it in pills. There are fake pills. The fact that it's a very dangerous drug, takes a very small amount to kill someone. The fact that not only did we take 2 pounds off the street today, we also took down a drug trafficking organization that was bringing, it's hard to calculate the actual amount, but a large amount of this type of poison into our community. Other questions?
A lot of times when you get kind of the lower level dealer, they just replace them with somebody else. Can you maybe touch on how did this kind of knock some of the key figures?
Yes, we wanted to move up the ladder. That's been one of the things I've been wanting to do since I took the office, is I wanted to move up the ladder. This was not just rounding up some local drug dealers. We were going outside the state, as far away as Detroit, Georgia. We were taking people that were bringing this poison into our community and actually prosecuting them. You're right. A lot of times if you prosecute a street-level drug dealer, a new person replaces them within a week. This right here, we're taking down organizations that are multi-state, that are working together to try to bring this poison in. So we're working together to try to keep this poison out. Any other questions? Any questions, anybody behind me? All right, thank you very much.